Hello, dear ones. After yesterday's video about stillness and how important it is, I want to go into that a little more because when it becomes more your own experience in the felt sense, you'll notice that things start changing. If it's just a concept, oh yeah, we need to be more in the stillness, or um, it's not it. It's still happening in the mind, in the matrix mind, and we're not out of it and into the direct experience of the divine, which is what we are. So I had the words come earlier today, and this usually happens when I'm in a meditation or out in the woods running or whatever. And I just felt like, when we fall out of love, we basically fall into fear or separation. You might have noticed that. We can use the example of a relationship, like when a relationship ends, there's a lot of grief and fear and loneliness. And we have left that place of love that we were experiencing before, when we were with somebody else who helped us open up to that space. It felt safe enough to open up to the love that we are. And what I'm seeing now more and more, and it's of course what I talk about, and it's my own deepening process, is that as the matrix, the crust of the matrix is crumbling, and I'm not just talking about out in the world, I really am talking about our own crust, our own matrix crust, where we have been identifying ourselves as being separate from the divine, separate from love, and separate from peace, from sweetness, from safety, from connection. That is the crust. That is where we feel completely separated from who we truly are. And that's why, while we are identified with that so deeply, we are working very, very hard to feel safe, basically, and make ends meet, feel fulfilled, trying to be loved by somebody. And that is basically um, that's what's going on in the world. This is what we're all doing. We're identifying with this crust, and then everybody is identifying with a crust. So nobody feels fulfilled naturally. Nobody feels love as their true essence. Nobody feels safe because there is no safety in a crust that is separate from the divine. So all these crusts, we can say, they're all trying to make the best of it. And there's usually a lot of pain and hurt and fear and abandonment and anger, because everybody's crust feels separate from who we truly are. It is, it is. We need to come back and connect with what is true. And that's, of course, my invitation. And when I talk about, how stillness is such a powerful tool or powerful presence, it's because we are then connected to who we are. And in there is no crust. So there's an ongoing choice by leaning into the crust or leaning into our true nature. And when we fall out of our true nature, when we fall out of love, when we fall out of peace, connection, sweetness, it's because we have fallen into the crust. And then we go and do our little matrix dance out there until we get sick and tired of it, hopefully. And then we fall out of the cross, and then we can choose to fall back into love, into who we truly are. So that's why the invitation to not touch the crust anymore. You touch it enough so you can unhook from it, right? It's not like, if you're totally stuck in it and all your tendrils are in it, it's impossible to just not touch it because you're completely one with it in a way. So my suggestion is, and that's what I've done with myself and in my work with my clients, is to use your presence, use your love that you are to lovingly help unhooking, maybe one finger at a time, until you can just slip out of the matrix. And then you will naturally just slip back into the love that you are, because when you're using love, your true nature, to unhook from the matrix, once you're out of it, then it's you're right back in love. So there's something to be said about, not touching it, which I have talked about so much. But I think it's also important to realize that we need to touch it to a certain extent. And we do that through, deep inner work in whatever way we do that. And I always feel that self-love is a very, very important piece of that. So then we come back to the love that we are, the light that we are. And we need to really spend more time in that, because it's almost like it's become foreign to us. We don't really know what it is. And again, I speak from my own experience, over the years, and, over the last 5 minutes, it's an ongoing process. But I find that when I lean into that love or peace, that I am, right? I am. That is who we are when we're not identified with the crust. I am not a crust. I am that I am. I am love. I am kind. I am gentle. So I want to just invite you today to maybe close your eyes if you can. Otherwise, do it later when you can. And you can imagine that your hands, your grip, for now, you let go of the grip of all the emotional attachments to the matrix. And I know that's a big leap, just to say, hey, just let it go. But I want to just have you imagine it for now. It's not a bypass. It's kind of an invitation to, then when you're not focusing on that, that means all your emotions, all the emotional attachments and traumas, and they're not something you can just let go of and be done with it. But we can choose to let go right now, and then just let yourself drop back into yourself, into your heart. And depending on what you're experiencing when you do that, try and just say something like, I am love. See if you can do it from a feeling place. I am kind. I am gentle. And just do your best to feel it. If you might notice that it might be challenging for some to really feel it, because the attachment to the crust, which is anything but love or gentle, right? There's that survival tension in the crust always. So it's hard to be soft when we are constantly trying to survive or get on top, whatever that means. So again, it's just doing your best. There's no, you don't need to be perfect at it by any means. But just see what it's like when you tell yourself, I am kind and soft. And do your best to just drop in and see if you can feel that in your chest when you are more connected to that love and that light, that I am presence inside, which is love and sweetness. Gentle, it's a nice word. Gentle. I'm gentle. And when you say that, whether you want to say it loud or just silently inside, see if you can get a little bit of a sense of that. You know, it's almost like you're turning in and you're connecting and saying hello to the one that you forgot that you are. Say, I am gentle. I am kind. And see if there's anything else that comes to you. Yeah, I am love. And make sure you see if you can notice the difference, the gap between the crust of who you think you are, and then that I am presence, that feeling of your own presence inside. And you might, go back and forth because you're so used to going out, you're so used to falling out of love and falling into the matrix. So then see if you can fall out of the matrix and fall back into love. You can take a breath into your chest if that helps. Just say, I am sweetness. I'm kind. And notice if you feel, I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience when I do that, just I really feel there's a softening happening. It's like a falling deeper into the love that I am by just acknowledging what I truly am. And this is not in the mind. This is not saying all these I am statements that some people do with the mind. This is just taking it in and just reminding yourself of who and what you are, as opposed to who and what you're not as the crust, even though it feels like that's who you are, right? Because it's so familiar. And every time you go out in the world, that, it's the crust showing up. Because there's a part of us that always feels we need to protect ourselves to be safe, and that need to do something to survive, right? There's that crust. It's made of this intensity. And because it's been so intense, it's been getting all of our attention. So it's not just easy, to let it go, even for a moment, but it's a good practice. And then, you fall out of the matrix and you let yourself fall back into love. And it can be very helpful in the beginning to just remind yourself of what you truly are, what you feel inside. You know, you might feel, I'm warm, I'm I'm generous. It's all these beautiful qualities that are the qualities of our true nature, the light that we are, the source connection that we feel to ourselves. And then when I would invite you to make this like a regular practice, if that resonates with you. And then it's really getting to know yourself again. Because when we're talking about that the matrix crust, the matrix is crumbling, there is something else that has been hiding, imprisoned behind that crust. And now that it's crumbling in each one of us, if we pay attention, for some it's much more obvious than others, but it is happening if we pay attention to it. So you might notice that that identity that you have been taken for granted about yourself, maybe it doesn't fit anymore. You might notice like, God, I don't want to do that anymore, or it feels like I'm just speaking the words, but I'm not really feeling it's true for me anymore. You might notice that a lot of the things in the world don't have meaning for you anymore. And that is because you are unhooking from the matrix, that there doesn't have that attachment, that energy behind it. And that's why that's a good time to just let yourself fall back into love, and then be very curious about what that is. This is what is coming alive in many, many people. And we can assist that process by, doing what I just shared with you. Of course, a meditation, absolutely. But right now, for me, it just feels really sweet to allow myself to get to know that part of myself a little more intimately. And then when I really feel that, I am love, then I walk into the world more in that energy. And then the crust is very, very uninteresting. Um, Not something I want to waste my time on. The same, for me, it's also nice, like I am gentle. It's like, oh, that's true. I am gentle. It's just when I get hooked into that crust, survival, doing, then I leave my gentleness, and then I become driven and hard. You see, so it's very much the duality we are noticing here, and that we have a choice, that we can fall out of doing and survival and fall back into love. And the more we do that, the more this becomes more familiar to us. And that's what we really want. We want to come back and remember who we are, who we've always been. And these times right now are specifically for that. And I'm almost guaranteeing you that there is going to be a huge need for that. For people like you and I to walk in the world, kind of resting in our heart, in our love, in our softness. And if there's hardness out there or harshness, we do not need to engage with that anymore. It's perfectly okay to say something like, I hear you, and I know it's hard for you, but I cannot engage in those kind of conversations anymore because it pulls me out of love, and I don't want to do that anymore. So it really becomes a real practice that we can do every day, just on our own, and just feeling, the love that I am. And it is really reacquainting yourself with who you always have been. And it's like, yeah, reacquainting yourself with your best friend that you lost a long time ago when you left home and went into the matrix, right? When you left the Garden of Eden and went into duality, where you have to work at the sweat of your brow. You might remember that from the Bible, from the Old Testament. So that's kind of what we're talking about. We're coming back to Eden, the Garden of Eden. We're done with the duality. And this is very, very much what is going on energetically in the world, inside of us. So the more we can engage in the beauty that is unfolding, I would think, but I don't know that the transitions that we're going through are going to be easier, and we will be we are being the solution, and because we're not the problem anymore. So I would love to hear how this is for you, if it resonates. And so please comment below. And oh, yeah, and tomorrow, April 1st, is my next online gathering called Feel Your Deepest Longing, Find Your Spiritual Calling. And your spiritual calling, that is who we are. It's not something we need to accomplish out there, although we might do that. But we don't go out there, we go in here and letting that energy just do what it wants to do. And we're just following it. So we'll practice some of that tomorrow. And I will put the link if you want to join, will be in the comments below. Let's just be still. Let's be open to who we are and walk around reminding ourselves who we truly are in here. All right, my friends, until we meet again.